So here's the story of how I spent 2 weeks trying to get this darn RX 5700 XT graphics card to work, and why I'll be returning it. So I uploaded that video of the Rocket project, and I felt like, you know what? I'm so happy with this that I could probably just take a break. And my best idea for a break is finally getting time to get up to speed on Final Fantasy XIV. My main computer does really well. Only problem is the graphics card. My GTX 960 was a cheap graphics card I got in 2015, and it can play 1080p at about 50 FPS on max settings, and then sometimes it dips down to 15 FPS. The 50 FPS is fine, but dipping down to 15 FPS in a battle, even for a half a second, it throws me off. So I thought, it's my break. Finally got the workshop done and stuff. I'm going to give myself like a RTX 2070 or something. And I've just been using NVIDIA for the longest time, and so I've gotten used to there being very few issues whenever you plug them in. My friend recommended me to get the RX 5700 XT, which every time I hear RX, it sounds like a drug. And this is that. And this thing is giving me nothing but odd issues. And worse, whenever it isn't giving me issues, it's giving me what I think is lackluster performance, or at least I'm not blown away by it. This card was $250, I believe, $240, 4 years ago. This card is $300 now, and it's barely 50% better. I first started off by putting it into my Optiplex, which I have a PCI extender cable on to allow it to hold a bigger graphics card. See, the idea is I really like small computers, and eventually I would really like to find a nice high-power graphics card someday in the future, and I can get that to fit in there and be a nice, cute little computer. But for now, it has to have an extender, and I definitely realize that this could cause a lot of trouble. The graphics card seemed to work okay in windowed mode, but then would have these random crashes. As soon as I went to full screen, boom, crash. Entire computer crash. Or sometimes it'd be a green screen. A couple times you would have to unplug the HDMI and plug it back in, and then the graphics driver would come back, and it just did not fill me with confidence. So I dug out my old computer from 2012 and put it in there, and I forgot to mention that my same friend also recommended to use DEU, display driver uninstaller, I believe. And so I used that, and didn't have any effect, unfortunately. I was hoping it would have some effect, because it makes sense to have old drivers lingering around, but it didn't seem to actually help that much. Actually, it didn't help at all. So I moved it onto here, which originally had my GTX 560 Ti. So again, it originally had NVIDIA on it, so that might play a part. And I used DTU on this, and I put this on there. Really bad issues. I kept having errors when trying to load the settings. Turns out this is a bit outdated. I only had this Windows 7 installation updated to 2017 or so. And so I found that a lot of the issues that I had on this was like a death by 1,000 little errors. A lot of those were being resolved by fixing the updating issues, because sometimes the Windows has issues where it just won't update anymore. And so that helped a lot. And so on this machine, I can run it full screen with fewer issues, but it crashes more often still. If I run in borderless window, it can run for a few hours, and then it crashes really hard. One time, it actually corrupted the installation file for Final Fantasy XIV, and thankfully I was able to copy over other ones, because I have all those saved. Like, I have like the Final Fantasy XIV alpha entire installation saved, and because I'm an archivist, I have to save everything like that. So I had all the stuff on hand, but other people might not. And there's a chance that just renaming the file like directory might actually help that, and then rename it back. Not sure though. But I still got annoyed by the fact that it still had very regular green screen blackouts, and especially because just the mere fact that it could corrupt the game files just really rubbed me the wrong way, because like my 960 never did that. It's unstable frame wise, but it doesn't crash, it just works. So I decided, you know what, I spent about 19 hours just on this computer, and about 8 hours at that point on that computer, because you know it was my break, and so I was spending like 12 hours a day on this stuff. So I moved it back to the new computer, the Optiplex, and I got a new cable for it, which is a full width. This is a PCI X2 or X4. You know, it only has so many lanes, but it didn't seem to have that many problems that were like resolved, sorry. And so it's just still a lot of the same issues to where on that computer it can run full screen now a little bit, but then if I try to run full screen again, it'll crash or do something really weird. And oh, I guess it crashed. Well, fuck. Okay, let's try that one last time. I had to reboot it. And 1080p, maximum full screen. See, it kind of glitchy. Like that. Go to settings. Well, that doesn't work. The button disappeared. Whatever. And now it works. Isn't that odd? I'm going to exit out. Oh, 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 it died. Display driver stopped responding and has recovered. Oh, no, the play button's gone. Guess we can go to settings. That's not very helpful. Whoa! Yeah, I don't know what is up with this. And I've used display driver uninstaller, DDU I think it's called. Whatever it is, I've used that multiple times. It's just not doing anything. Oh. Let's see if it even uses any of the GPU. Oh, never mind. That's not good. Nope. Aha. Now I have a fatal DirectX error. See, it's like every single time it's different. Either it locks it up fully, or it green screens and it corrupts the game. It's just, oh, I'm so over this. Now granted, it could be the extender cable, but the benchmark results for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers benchmark, I haven't even gone into this yet. The benchmark results are the same across both machines. So obviously, if this is affecting it, it's affecting the stability, not the speed. Because, and this is where we're also getting into like the low performance. When I bought it, I looked it up, and the 5700 XT architecture, someone was getting, I believe, about 17,800 points on the benchmark with this card. Not the MSI card, but with this card. my 960 gives me 8,600 points on the benchmark, and that's pretty good. I mean, you can play it, but I want to play maximum, and I was wanting to spoil myself, but I just ended up wasting my break. I mean, thankfully I get to say how long my break is, so I'm just gonna wait longer, but that also means that this has cost you guys 2 weeks of no videos, because now I'm just gonna be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to the 960 and actually enjoy my break. But it's only 50% better. Only 50%. That was a bit surprising. I thought it'd be a lot better. The difference between this, with this, and that computer with this card was only about 100 points. And interestingly enough, whenever I switched from high desktop settings to maximum settings, there really wasn't any difference in the benchmark number. So I'm not sure if that they've changed how that works or what. I mean, I'm just thinking that the drivers aren't that good. They don't have very good settings. Like, I remember NVIDIA having really good settings. You get to do all sorts of things. Like, I remember a couple of NVIDIA cards, you could even like modify like the output so you could actually display on an NTSC television, which is a little bit, it's a little messing around, but the AMD settings, the Adrenaline or whatever it's called, has next to no settings in it, and just the lackluster performance, it just doesn't make me happy. And after spending 2 weeks on this, I would buy this one over again, and that's bad. When I'd go back to my old card that I was trying to replace, and so my break just ended up being tech support trying to get this darn thing to work. I don't know where I was going with this. It's just that I could have been expecting too much, but Final Fantasy XIV even draws this thing down below 60 FPS sometimes with 1080p video, and I don't know. I don't think I can justify the $300 I spent on this when it has so many bad crashes, and yeah. A lot of the issues were fixed by a lot of the smaller issues that I didn't really talk about, like the settings application crashing, were fixed by updating Windows, of course. I don't know, it's just disappointing because I've never tried AMD before, and you know, one more thing that I found really disappointing is this didn't come with all the parts to use it. The box is extremely minimalistic, and you guys might know that I really am not a fan of minimalism, because people seem to take minimalism way too far. Like packing? We don't need packing. It's called minimalism. Oh. But inside the box you get this envelope with just that inside. It's a little thing basically telling you how to plug it into your computer. It's fine. I didn't really expect a CD, but I would have expected like little stickers or something. I understand this is a really cheap one, but even with like my 960, I got a little sticker with it, and I got a little adapter. But this came with no adapters whatsoever. And I ended up having to strip an adapter off a different computer just to be able to plug it in, because it had a very odd plug for my stuff. I want to like AMD, or maybe it's MSI that's the issue with here, but I can't recommend it. I really can't. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend the extra money and get an RX 2070, and we'll see what that does. And maybe that'll be a steaming pile of garbage also. I hope this was informative, and it was nice to experiment, but I just wish I hadn't wasted so much time on this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya.